So here's the thing about the Montreal Canadiens. If I mention to you NCAA prospects that are doing well, that are near the top of the entire collegiate scene in their respective categories, if I mentioned that to you as a Montreal Canadiens fan to a Montreal Canadiens fan, you probably would assume that I wanted to talk about Michael Hage. And look, to be fair, that's a very good educated guess. Center, superstar in the making, maybe, who knows? He's a good player. Montreal Canadiens first-round draftee all the way back in 2024. There's a lot to like out of Michael Hage. But what if I told you that Michael Hage isn't the NCAA prospect that we're talking about? And in fact, he's not even the only one that we need to discuss when it comes to prospects at the top. Because today, I wanted to take a trek over to the NCAA and its overall points numbers. This is the list of the top point producers in the NCAA this season, and as you can see, there are a bunch of prospects around the league that are doing their thing. You've got the two plants for Minnesota Duluth out of Detroit and Pittsburgh systems leading the league and the nation in scoring. You've got the aforementioned Michael Hage, who is right there in a fourth place position in NCAA points with 19 in 14 games played. But, as we had mentioned, Michael Hage ain't the subject of this video. In order to find that out, we have to scroll all the way down to the bottom here. No, we're not talking about guys who are a point per game in the NCAA and thus in the 100 range. We are going down to the goaltenders, because as we had briefly mentioned in a video talking about Trey Augustine, the Montreal Canadiens have a number of guys that happen to just be at the top over here. Let's take a look at this. Here's the list of save percentages in the NCAA out of goalies who have played 10 or more total games so far. You can see that Lawton Zacher out of Northeastern University is number one with a .943 save percentage. He's got 7 wins, 3 losses, and 3 shutouts, and he has 300 saves on 18 total goals against. Lawton Zacher, who is number one, he is all the way up there at 21 years old. Buffalo, New York, USA, undrafted goaltender. But number 2 in the NCAA for goalies over or equal to 10 games played is none other than the Denver Pioneers' Quentin Miller, who has a .942 save percentage. He is 7-2-1 with 2 shutouts and 262 saves with 16 total goals against. Quentin Miller is a Montreal Canadiens prospect drafted in the 4th round of the 2023 NHL Draft. A hometown guy, born in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, who is now a Habs prospect, and one that I don't really know has had the biggest spotlight thrusted upon him, like some of the other guys we have seen. Now, I know Jacob Fowler is like the big one when it comes to Canadiens goalie prospects, especially, in a lot of the recent videos that we've made, there has been a pretty big emphasis on Jacob Fowler. But Quentin Miller is doing very, very good things in the NCAA. This is his first season over there after being the main Chilliwack Chiefs guy here in my backyard in Chilliwack, BCHL hockey over there. It's actually quite remarkable to see the progression for Quentin Miller, because it's very rare to see a guy go from Quebec U18 AAA hockey to the QMJHL only to technically downgrade to the BCHL the year after. Now, he was drafted back in 2023, so this was a pretty big year-by-year progression for Quentin Miller. He was drafted, then he played another season in the Q, then he went to the BCHL Junior A hockey here in British Columbia, and now he's in the collegiate system. He's been doing very well, and he's second in NCAA goalies amongst those who have equal to or more than 10 games played in save percentage. But Quentin Miller ain't the only guy that we gotta talk about either. Yeah, he's number 2 technically on the list. But if you include goalies who have played less than 10 games, it gets even more interesting. Take a look at this. Let's head back over to that list that we looked at and scroll all the way down. Less than 10 games, you have 3 goalies who have played 1 game and who did not let in a goal in that 1 game that they played. Okay, that's fine. You have Trent Burnham, Mitchell Day, and Ethan Dahlmeier. All of these guys had 3 saves, 9 saves, 10 saves, so obviously not the biggest workload. But the 2 and 3 guys afterwards are also Montreal Canadiens guys too. Take a look at this. In 3 games played, you have Habs prospect Emmett Croteau for Dartmouth, who has a .960 save percentage. In 5 games played, you have Alexis Cournoyer playing for Cornell University, who has a .953 save percentage. These guys are also Montreal Canadiens prospects, and you just gotta wonder what the hell's going on with the Habs to be able to draft all of these top-tier NCAA guys. Now, I will go out there and say, just because you are a goaltender who is near the top of this particular list of NCAA statistics, it doesn't mean that everyone is going to be the next Jacob Fowler. You have to take a look at the quality of competition. You have to look at just how many games they've played. Of course, these guys have only played 3 and 5 games. They're not getting the primary workload for their teams. And also, Dartmouth, you've got Cornell. These teams don't necessarily play in the most competitive divisions. They're not playing off against a Wisconsin Badgers team. They're not playing off against Michigan. They're not doing that regularly. So the divisions in the NCAA do need to be acknowledged when thinking about who's producing and who's not. I mean, just to give a little bit of a crash course on it, let's go over to the NCAA league information and facts. You got all the teams here, yes, that is true, but some of these divisions are a lot more difficult than others, and the more difficult ones are the ones that we all know about. Wisconsin, Michigan State, University of Minnesota, Notre Dame. Some of these other colleges don't have the most difficult competition. You got Cornell playing with Union, Quinnipiac, Dartmouth over here. Then Hockey East, you've got Northeastern, UMass, University of Maine, the Black Bears, Boston College, Boston University, and then you've got the NCHC, which is also pretty competitive in its own right. University of Denver is here, playing off against North Dakota, Minnesota Duluth, and a bunch of other teams, so this is where Quentin Miller is housed in his NCAA home. But that is not to take away anything from Emmett Croteau and Alexis Cournoyer, 2 guys who are playing in that Ivy League division over there in the NCAA. ECHC is what they technically call it, but I mean, you just think about how these guys have progressed. Croteau is at a .960 save percentage after being at a .903 last year, and Cournoyer is in his first year of NCAA eligibility, .953 save percentage. Last year, he was in the queue, and he had a .942 save percentage. That's also really strong. Cournoyer was drafted this year by Montreal in the 5th round, 145th overall, and Croteau was drafted by the Habs in 2022, 6th round pick, 162nd overall. He's 21 years old. The other guy, Cournoyer, is only 19, so obviously there is a lot of talent still to come out of these NCAA goaltenders, and their progression and development is far from over. So with that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these Montreal Canadiens prospects showing off very well and legitimately placing themselves amongst the top names in the NCAA in these goaltender statistics? Quentin Miller for the Denver Pioneers, you've got Emmett Croteau for Dartmouth, and you also have Alexis Cournoyer for Cornell University. Thoughts in the comment section below about all these prospects and what they could potentially provide for the Canadiens. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.